Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Alex Nitzberg Show. I'm Alex Nitzberg and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to be discussing a few things, including I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Governor Ron DeSantis's listless vessels comment, and also I'm going to be talking a bit about the Republican primary. And I got some funny stuff to show you guys as well. So thank you for watching. If you've been enjoying these shows, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up and a comment. If you want to engage with me live here, you can leave a comment during the show. And thank you to whoever already left a thumbs up. I see one thumbs up there. And also just remember I do these every Saturday at 3:30, so you can come back next Saturday at 3:30 for another episode. And always, if you're not here live, you can watch the replay. So thank you for joining me. Let me switch over here. There's your thumbs up reminder. So if you're enjoying these shows, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. All right, so some of you may have seen this, some of you maybe not. But there was comments that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made, basically saying that there's a strand in the Republican Party that that determines whether someone's a RINO, a Republican in name only, basically based off whether they're supporting Trump and kissing up to him is basically what he was saying. And I'll play the clip and then I'll talk about it a little bit here. But let me go ahead and play the clip first.
We have a strand in our party that views supporting Trump as whether you are a RINO or not. And so you could be the most conservative person since sliced bread. Unless you're kissing his rear end, they will somehow call you a RINO. So it's been totally detached from principle and what you actually believe and results. And it's more about, just what faction you happen to do. So there'll be people who are huge Trump supporters, like in Congress, who have like incredibly liberal left-wing records that's really just atrocious, and yet they're viewed as by some of these folks as like really, really good. Then you have other people, like a Congressman Chip Roy, who's endorsed me, Congressman Thomas Massey. These guys have records of principle fighting the swamp that are second to none, and yet they will be attacked by some of these people and called RINOs. So it's just been totally detached from any type of substance, and ultimately a movement can't be about the personality of one individual. The movement has got to be about what are you trying to achieve on behalf of the American people, and that's got to be based in principle. Because if you're not rooted in principle, if all we are is listless vessels that's just supposed to follow, whatever happens to come down the pike on Truth Social every morning, that's not going to be a durable movement.
Thomas Massey.
So, yeah, you can see that. And I mean, you can let me know in the comments what you think about that. I basically agree with what he's saying. I mean, President Trump, whether you support him or not, if you're conservative, you should be able to look at him somewhat objectively. I mean, everybody gets kind of wrapped up in personalities and you get attached to certain people and stuff, but Trump did things that weren't conservative when he was in office. For instance, and it's not just Trump. I mean, many other Republicans do things that they shouldn't be doing if they're really conservative. But when Republicans and Trump, passed those massive, massive spending bills when Trump was president, that is not conservative. One of the fundamental principles of conservatism is, lower spending, smaller government. So passing massive, massive spending bills, whether it's for COVID or whatever, that's not really conservative. And so, if you're conservative, you could criticize Trump and Republicans for doing that kind of stuff. But it does seem like there are some people who they're so supportive of Trump that it's it's important. If you call yourself conservative, okay, you should be focused on principles, not just a person, and your principles should be guiding your values, so if you're for small government, if you're for, if you're pro-life, whatever, that should be how you make decisions on voting and stuff, not necessarily just like, oh, I like Trump, so I'm just going to vote for Trump. Now, over here, I want to mention, you can see here, Trump has called DeSantis a RINO globalist before. I think that's a ridiculous line of attack that's completely false. You can let me know whether you think that or not. But to me, that's the kind of thing. It's like, okay, when he says listless vessel, you kind of think of like a ship that's just floating out in the water, that's not anchored to anything. It's just kind of floating around. And yeah, I don't think people should be looking to what Trump says to be like the be all end all of what the conservative movement should be or what the Republican Party should be focused on. Really, there's conservative principles, and that's what you should be fighting for. And if Trump is doing that, then you cheer him on and you support him. And if he's not doing that, then you criticize him and you say like, hey, you need to redirect and go over here and do this. And that goes for anybody, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or anybody. But yeah, so just it's just one of those things. People gotta guard yourself against like the getting too wrapped up in one person, and you need to focus on the principles and not just supporting that person no matter what they do. So over here you can see the Trump War Room was kind of like hitting DeSantis on this. They put out this video of people saying that we are not listless vessels. Let me show you that. And let me mention, this is a 2-minute 40-second video. I'm just showing you a little clip of it. If you want to see it, you can go on the Trump War Room Twitter channel here and see this.
I'm not a listless vessel.
I'm not a listless vessel.
We are not a listless vessel.
I am not.
I am not a listless vessel.
I'm not a listless vessel.
I'm not a listless vessel.
Man, we're not
a listless vessel. I'm not a listless vessel.
DeSantis, we are not listless vessels.
All right, so they put that out. Okay. Next topic here, I got the debate, which some of you probably watched, and I'll mention in a second. Well, I'll talk about it in a second, but also, if you know, there was obviously, Trump was not there. So Brett Baer used this phrase, the elephant not in the room, which I thought was very funny and appropriate. But yeah, Trump was the elephant not in the room at the debate, because we have 8 Republican presidential candidates who basically seem like they have no shot at winning because Trump is trouncing everybody, and it looks like Trump's just going to steamroll them and get the Republican nomination. But DeSantis, and you can see up there Ramaswamy, Pence, and some other people are at this debate, and Trump opted not to go. He could have gone, he qualified, but he decided not to. Instead, he had done this interview with Tucker Carlson. Reports indicated that it was pre-recorded, but Tucker Carlson dropped it right before the start of the debate on his Twitter platform, on X. It's called X now. So Tucker Carlson released that, the interview that he had recorded right before. So it was basically clashing, competing with the debate. Of course, people can go back and watch either of them later. If you haven't watched the debate yet and you want to catch it, you can watch it on Rumble. The RNC has it up on the Rumble channel, and also if you want to watch the Tucker thing, that's over on Tucker's Twitter page. But it looks like Donald Trump's not going to be doing any of the debates, because before that first debate, he actually put out this post on Truth Social where he said that he will not be doing that. He says, "I will therefore not be doing the debates," and he said it plural. So it sounds like he won't be doing any of the debates. And I gotta say, they're more boring for it. I think it would have been more entertaining if he had been there. But I wanted to mention with this one issue from it, and it's like 2 hours long, so I'm just showing you this one thing here. But when the moderators asked for the candidates to basically indicate whether or not they would be against more funding for Ukraine, the only person who indicated that, they were, yes, I'd be against more funding for Ukraine was Vivek Ramaswamy. You can see here, nobody raises their hand except Ramaswamy, and DeSantis kind of does something, but then he basically just says, well, I think Europe should pull their weight, and, so he doesn't really say he's firmly against more Ukraine funding. Let me show you that.
The U.S. has committed nearly $77 billion in aid to the Ukraine war. The administration is now asking Congress for $24 billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more funding to Ukraine?
We would not support it. Europe needs to step up. I mean, I would have Europe step up and do their job.
All right, Mr. Ramaswamy, but you're saying you would not too, Governor DeSantis?
I will have Europe pull their weight. Right now, they're not doing that.
You would not support
and I think we need to do, and I think our support should be contingent on them doing it. And I would have support in China to be able to take China and do what we need to do with China.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not, and I think that this is disaster.
So you can see there, DeSantis. Brett Baer's trying to get clarity. He's like, are you saying you wouldn't? And he just says, well, I think our support should be contingent and Europe needs to pull their weight. So, I mean, it sounds like, even though he said that, he still sounds like he'd be open to more support for Ukraine. So that's an issue that Republicans are obviously divided on. And let me just show you an example of that here. I know a lot of people out there, I put myself in that camp, are kind of like, stop sending money to Ukraine to fight this war and stuff. It seems like, why are we spending all this money on this war over there? But, so, let me just show you this. Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, he has put out this tweet thread basically pushing for more U.S. aid to Ukraine. And let me just read this to you here. He said, just returned from a very successful and important visit to Ukraine with Senators Blumenthal and Warren. 18 months after the invasion, Ukraine is on the offensive, recapturing land that was illegally seized by Russia. NATO has increased in size, the Russian economy is in decline, the Russian military is being decimated, and Putin is facing an international arrest warrant for war crimes involving children. It is imperative that America continues to support Ukraine's military, specifically the need for long-range artillery. And he says ATACMS is urgent. America should also take over the F-16 transfer program to speed things up. And then he has a few more tweets here. He says, in spite of slow deliveries of demining equipment and other essential weapons, Ukraine is making steady progress on multiple fronts in their counteroffensive. And then I'm just going to skip down to here. He says, from an American point of view, this is a great return on investment. I hope Republicans and Democrats will continue to see the wisdom of supporting Ukraine's military. So we have Republicans who are very much in favor of continuing to shovel, U.S. dollars, U.S. aid of whatever kind into Ukraine. I mean, it's obviously a tragic situation what's going on over there. Them getting invaded is terrible. The horrible human rights, whatever's going on is terrible. But then it's like, does the U.S. want to continue funding Ukraine's war effort and therefore help them, in a sense, prolong the war? I understand why the Ukrainians want to fight back. Obviously, if the United States got invaded, Americans would be wanting to fight tooth and nail as well. But it's just, it's like a lot of people are just like, why are we still shoveling money into that? And as you can see, there are Republicans who are very much in favor of that. And it looks like, you can keep your eyes peeled to see what happens, but I think that likely Congress will probably be passing some sort of more funding for Ukraine probably in the future. They might also be passing disaster relief for the U.S., in conjunction with that, and maybe other stuff. But anyway, you can keep your eyes peeled for that. So yeah, back to the debate stuff. I had mentioned that Tucker Carlson had done this interview with Trump. Like I said, it dropped like right before, like it was released right before the debate, but I actually think it was pre-recorded according to reports. I watched most of it, and I didn't really think it was. I thought it was pretty boring, not really interesting. Tucker could have asked a lot harder questions. He didn't really ask hard questions. Like, I think that good questions to ask would be about Trump's stance on the vaccines, because that's one of the issues that a lot of people that are conservative, one of the issues you can hit Trump on that you can have a problem with, is that the whole Operation Warp Speed, but mainly his support for vaccines. That I would say what he needs to do, what he should do, is come out and say like, wow, we have problems with these vaccines harming people, and he just needs to acknowledge that, firmly acknowledge that there have been people harmed by the vaccines and that it needs to be looked into, and he needs to get off of the fact that he kind of was the one that got that into place. Like, he could say, hey, at the time I didn't know what I was doing, but now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing a problem. Like, it would be great if he would come out and acknowledge that. And also, he could, Tucker could have asked him about massive, like I said, the massive spending that he helped, sign off on when he was in office. There are things that conservatives have problems with, legitimate problems with Trump's presidency that he could have been asked about. And like I said, I watched most of it. I didn't watch the end of it, but let me know what you thought about that interview. I actually thought the debate was more interesting than that. But and I wrote an article about the debate on The Blaze if you want to read that. But you can let me know what you thought about all that stuff there. But let me mention this. Let me hit the refresh page here. This interview that Tucker put up, you can look at debate. This tweet has almost 260 million views. I don't think that statistic equates to video views necessarily. I think it's more like views on the tweet itself. But whatever, that's like huge. Traffic on this tweet, 260 million almost. And I did clip this. This is kind of funny. Like I said, I wasn't really enthralled with this interview, but there's this ridiculous segment where Trump is saying that Biden looks horrible on the beach. So let me just show you that. It's pretty funny.
I don't know what they're doing with the beach. This beach is seeming to play a big role, but they love pictures of him on the beach. I think he looks terrible on the beach. He looks terrible on the beach.
Skinny legs.
Well, he can't walk through the sand. Sand is not that easy to walk through, but when he walks through it, he can't walk through the sand. And there's somebody in there that thinks he looks fabulous at the beach. I think he looks horrible at the beach. Plus, the beach doesn't represent what a president's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be working. I don't know what they're doing with.
So that's pretty hilarious. It's just, you can't deny that Trump is pretty much the most entertaining Republican candidate that we have. And it's just, he does funny stuff like that. Biden looks horrible at the beach. It's just, also, I will mention here that the Democrats and the left are constantly promoting this climate change alarmism stuff. And so apparently there was this report that the DNC was going to hire, they had booked a plane to fly a banner in Milwaukee, on the day of the debate, which is where the Republican debate was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And you can see here, where is it? There, DNC has booked a plane to fly around Milwaukee on Wednesday night, dragging a banner reading GOP 2024, a race for the extreme MAGA base. And that was on a Politico thing. I'm on the archived website because it was like Politico Playbook, and I think they update that, so they changed the page. But look, check this out. Over here, this is from the Daily Mail. I grabbed this video. Here's a video of the plane flying that banner, and it's just, the hypocrisy is astounding, right? And the reason I say that is because of the left constantly promoting their climate change alarmism. Oh my gosh, they talk about, fossil fuels and all that kind of stuff. And side note, I actually question the whole fossil fuel narrative, whether those, but anyway, people talk about coming from fossils. I'm a Christian. I'm a young earth creationist. I don't believe that the earth is billions and millions of years old, but rather thousands of years old. And, just if you look at the genealogies and stuff in the Bible, if you take the Bible literally, there's not billions of years in there. So when people talk about fossil fuels, I heard someone say once, and I think it's a very good point, it just doesn't, I'm not sure that tracks, that they're fossil fuels, created over a long period of time. Obviously, it couldn't have been created over a long period of time if you believe the Bible. But, who knows? I don't know if God created the oil in the ground, if maybe somehow it was created during the flood, Noah's flood. Who knows? Side note on that. But anyway, the point is, these guys are constantly like, oh my gosh, fossil fuels, we have to stop. The world is being destroyed. Or in the case of the UN Secretary General, he talked about global boiling and all this stuff. And then they're flying a plane around so that they can fly this banner around. So, hypocrisy alert. but all right. Also, I'm sure you guys have heard that Trump, was booked at this Atlanta jail this week, and this mugshot was released, and he posted on Twitter for the first time in more than 2 years. He got kicked off of Twitter in the wake of the January 6th, 2021 Capitol riot, and then he wasn't allowed, he was basically kicked off the platform. Once Elon Musk took over, he allowed him back on, reinstated his account, but Trump has been using Truth Social, and he hasn't returned to Twitter until now. Until this week, when he posted, after that mugshot came out, he posted this tweet. It says mugshot, and it's got election interference, never surrender, and it's got a link to a fundraising page. And also, before I show you the fundraising page, let me just point this out. Look at this, 238 million. Let me refresh and see if that's actually still accurate. Over 238 million views on this tweet. Massive traffic. I mean, huge traffic on this. Look at people seeing this tweet. So DonaldTrump.com link, it goes to here, and it goes to this fundraising page with the mugshot. And you can see here that it says, if you are doing poorly due to the sinister people in the control of our country right now, don't even think about donating. But if you can, please make a contribution to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House and save America during this dark chapter of our nation's history. So it's this fundraising page. Kind of nice that they say, if you don't have the money, don't donate. He doesn't want people donating that don't really have the funds to do so. But yeah, so I mean, seriously, a lot of traffic on that tweet there, and obviously that mugshot, the Trump campaign, conservatives, people are going to be using that mugshot for a long time to basically actually promote Trump, which is kind of funny. But just the fact that, something you would think of as bad is actually going to be a serious coup for the Trump campaign. Okay, and then one more thing here. This is just something funny. If you guys have never heard of Sean Farash, he is an excellent Trump impressionist. He's the best Trump impressionist I've ever seen. The guy sounds like Trump. I mean, he just sounds like Trump. Like, if you weren't watching him and you were just listening to him, I mean, he makes jokes and stuff, so you might be like, well, this just sounds like kind of weird. But if he was saying something that actually was something Trump would say, and he kind of makes jokes that are things that are kind of along the lines of something that Trump might say, maybe exaggerated, but you might think he's Trump just listening to him. It's crazy. So if you haven't heard of him, I'm going to show you this clip, which is funny. And if you want to hear more, look him up on Twitter or whatever, YouTube, wherever you want to look him up. I actually tagged him on this YouTube video, so if you go down in the the description of my YouTube video, you should be able to click on and go to his YouTube channel. He's really funny. Let me show you this here.
Well, they took my mugshot. It's a big, beautiful mugshot. Look at it. I call it the Mona Lisa of mugshots. It's incredible. Look at that. It's like my phone calls. It's a perfect mugshot. So perfect and so beautiful. You know, many people say that they have a good side and a bad side. I only have one side. It's called my great side. They got my great side with this mugshot. It's a beautiful picture of a very handsome guy with wonderful hair. Such a beautiful mugshot that Hunter Biden may want to paint a picture of it and sell it for a lot of money to Russia, or China, or even Ukraine. You know about it. Such a perfect, beautiful, highly respected mugshot. The greatest mugshot in the history of the world, believe me.
So yeah, you guys should check him out if you haven't heard of him. He's really funny. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and a comment as well. And also, don't forget to follow me on X, the social media platform previously known as Twitter, if you were on there. And I will be back next week on Saturday at 3:30 for another live episode of the show. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.